Hello friends, today we are going to examine one of the largest economic cooperation or economic integration scheme in Southeast Asia, namely the Association of Southeast Asian Nation or ASEAN. We will elaborate the historical evolution of ASEAN, its objective and most importantly its development to become one of the influential multilateral trade bloc in the world. Welcome to the session. The Association of Southeast Asian Nation, Association of Southeast Asian Nation or what we call the ASEAN, was signed as an aftermath of or as a culmination of what is came to be known as the Bangkok Declaration of 1967. Bangkok Declaration is also known as the ASEAN Declaration and it was signed, as the name itself suggests, it was signed in Bangkok, Thailand by 5 countries, or 5 countries are known as the founding fathers of ASEAN. So on August 8, 1967, 5 countries of Southeast Asia signed the Bangkok Declaration or otherwise known as ASEAN Declaration to form the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. So 5 countries formed, we have 5 countries which we call as the founding fathers of ASEAN signed the Bangkok Declaration, namely Thailand, we have Philippines, we have Malaysia, we have Indonesia, and 5th one was Singapore. So 5 countries, namely Thailand, Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Singapore signed the Bangkok Declaration or ASEAN Declaration on August the 8th, 1967 to form Association of Southeast Asian Nation or ASEAN. Later, 5 more countries of Southeast Asia joined to form a larger economic integration scheme. So we have now 10 member countries as a members of Association of Southeast Asian Nation or ASEAN. The other 5 countries, that is, when we talk about the member countries, as we said, we have 10 member countries. 5 were already there as a founding fathers of the ASEAN. The other countries were Brunei Darussalam, Brunei joined, Laos joined, Cambodia joined, Vietnam joined. All these countries, Brunei, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam as well as Myanmar. So these countries, so we have 10 countries as a members of ASEAN, 5 founding countries and as well and 5 other countries who joined later only. Brunei Darussalam, Laos, PDR, Cambodia, Vietnam and Myanmar. So all together we have 10 countries as a members of Association of Southeast Asian Nation or what we call the ASEAN. So these are the membership of ASEAN and the headquarters of ASEAN is in Jakarta, which we know it is in Indonesia. So the headquarters of ASEAN is in Jakarta. So let us now explain the objectives or what are the basic objectives of Association of Southeast Asian Nation. The objectives and the purpose, the aims and objectives of ASEAN is well explained in the ASEAN Declaration in 1967 as well. It says that the basic and most important objective of ASEAN is to achieve economic, social, cultural, political cooperation among 10 member countries of ASEAN. What was that? That is, the basic and most important aim or objective of ASEAN is to achieve economic, political, social, cultural cooperation among the 10 member countries. Still, it got certain specific other objectives as well. Let us quickly explain what are the other objectives of ASEAN. When we talk about the objectives of ASEAN, and the first objective, like most of the economic integration scheme, the first objective is acceleration of acceleration of economic growth, social progress and cultural development in the area. That's the first objective. The first objective of ASEAN is acceleration of economic growth, cultural progress as well as social development and standard of living of the people of Southeast Asian nation. That's the first objective. And when we talk about the second objective is to maintain regional peace and stability. To maintain regional peace and stability. By respecting the sovereignty of each member countries, by adhering to the principle of United Nations, the ASEAN maintains that its second objective is to maintain a regional peace and stability in Southeast Asian region. Now, the third objective is collaboration. Collaboration among member countries in the matters of common interest. So, the third objective is collaboration among member countries, which is also one of the most important aspect with respect to ASEAN. It is collaboration and cooperation among member countries. So, collaboration among member countries in matters of common interest. And the fourth objective is cooperate with each other in the development of agriculture, industry as well as international trade as well as commodity trade. That is, cooperate with each other. So, as there is full utilization of the agriculture, industry as well as commodity trade within the ASEAN region. And the fifth objective, we can say that it is collaborate and cooperate with each other in matters with respect to the research and development. We can call it as R&D. Collaborate with each other for better development in research and development, but new research should be taking place and there should be collaboration with among the member countries. And the sixth objective is there should be a mechanism for better studies about Southeast Asia. That is, there is to develop studies on Southeast Asian nation, about the studies of Southeast Asian nation. And finally, seventh one is cooperate with other bodies that function in the world with similar kind of objectives. That is, to cooperate with other international agencies and other economic integration schemes who functions with similar objectives. So these are the 7 objectives of ASEAN as explained in the ASEAN Declaration, or what we call the Bangkok Declaration. So what are these 7 objectives? Once more, 1. To accelerate economic growth, cultural development as well as social progress in the area among the member countries. And second one, to maintain a regional peace and stability by respecting individuality of the countries, by respecting sovereignty of the countries, by adhering to the principle of United Nations, to maintain a regional peace and stability, to collaborate with other countries, to collaborate with other member countries in matters of common interest. Fourth one is cooperate with other countries, cooperate with the member countries for better utilization of agriculture, industry as well as commodity trade. Fifth one is there should be development with respect to research and development activities. There should be greater coordination and cooperation. And the sixth one is there should be an increase in the studies on Southeast Asian nation, and there should be the ASEAN should cooperate with other countries, other organizations, other international organizations that essentially function with similar kind of objectives. So these are the 7 objectives as envisaged for ASEAN in the Bangkok Declaration. Now, let us explain, apart from these objectives, let us explain what about the development, what about the progress of Association of Southeast Asian Nation or ASEAN. It should be said that over the years, right from its establishment in 1967, it has become one of the influential, as we said at the very onset itself, it has become one of the influential multilateral trading bloc in the world. Mostly because these countries, we have 10 member countries of ASEAN, right? These 10 member countries very easily embraced the principle of trade liberalization, globalization, liberalized capital flow, and with prudent macroeconomic policies, they achieved very faster economic progress. So the very first objective of ASEAN, which was acceleration of economic growth, was more or less achieved for these 10 countries. These 10 countries are essentially small countries, and these countries had what earlier we called these countries as Asian tigers, and these countries attained rapid economic growth by embracing the principle of trade liberalization as well as globalization. And in fact, should be said that the liberalized trade and international trade, commodity trade was one of the lifeblood for these countries, because these countries were heavily involved in the trading activities. And to encourage more effective coordinated, or to encourage greater inter-regional trade, in fact, ASEAN formed what is known as AFTA, ASEAN Free Trade Area, in 1992. It was signed in the 28th August 1992 by initially 6 countries, because when AFTA was signed in 1992, ASEAN comprised the 5 founding fathers as well as Brunei Darussalam. There was only 6 countries initially were there when AFTA was signed, which is basically for free trade area among the ASEAN member countries. So initially it was 6, then when later other countries like Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam and Myanmar joined, now the AFTA agreement in fact consists of all the 10 member nations of ASEAN. So we have 10 member countries for AFTA. Like any free trade agreement, and AFTA, which was signed in 1992, essentially calls for 2 objectives. So there are 2 main objectives for AFTA, or the free trade area of ASEAN. And the first objective, like any free trade area, it called for elimination of tariff and NTBs. That's the first objective. And the second objective was to attract FDI, foreign direct investment, into Southeast Asian Asia, or into these 10 member countries. So these are the 2 objectives for the AFTA agreement, or ASEAN Free Trade Area agreement. The first one was elimination of tariff as well as non-tariff barriers, and the second objective was attracting foreign direct investment. Now, even though the basic structure of AFTA agreement was more or less similar to that of European Union, when it in fact evolved as a first stage as a free trade area, there are certain differences. It should be said that there are certain differences. In fact, the AFTA agreement do not compel or do not ask the member countries or the ASEAN countries to have a common kind of an external tariff. We know that in European Union, when it formed the free trade area and later it became the economic and monetary union, they have a common external tariff. In the AFTA agreement of ASEAN, there is no common external tariff. That means the member countries, in fact, the AFTA agreement states that the member countries do have freedom and sovereignty to fix the tariff with respect to the non-members. And on behalf of, by following their own national policies, by following their own national priorities, they are free to, or they do have a freedom to fix the tariff with respect to the non-members. But it calls for elimination of tariff and non-tariff among the member countries. But it should be said that the AFTA agreement states that the member countries must reduce the tariff among the member countries up to 0 to 5%. That is, the tariff charged on intra-regional trade, that is, among the ASEAN countries, should be as low as 0 to 5%. Even though with respect to the non-members countries, the individual or the countries do have a freedom. And the progress in AFTA can be explained by following a principle what they call CEPT. In fact, AFTA agreement rests on a principle called CEPT. What is CEPT? Common Effective Preferential Tariff Scheme. Common Effective Preferential Tariff Scheme, which was the basic framework of AFTA agreement. So AFTA agreement was undertaken by following a principle of Common Effective Preferential Tariff Scheme. We call it as CEPT. So Common Effective Preferential Tariff Scheme says that there should be preferences. Being a preferential trading system, there should be preferences with respect to commodities, intra-regional commodities, specific commodities within the region. So the tariff rate should be 0 to 5% percentage among the member countries of ASEAN. But with respect to the non-member countries, the countries do have a freedom to fix. And even there are certain sensitive items where the AFTA agreement can be relaxed or cannot be enforced, because the countries do have a freedom and autonomy to list certain sensitive items, and many agriculture commodities are included as a sensitive items. So the importance of AFTA is that, one, it incorporated a trading or a free trade area among one of the fastly developing small economies of the world, and it in fact liberalized the trade among these countries, as well as ASEAN also in fact expanded their cooperation by signing free trade agreement with certain non-member countries, like for example say New Zealand is an example, Australia is an example, and most of these countries are dialogue partners of ASEAN. So in fact ASEAN do have an agreement with APEC, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation, which is a much larger bloc. So ASEAN extended their cooperation in international trade, in commodity trade with many other countries and many other organizations as well. That's why Vidya Sidhi has said that the ASEAN, like European Union, ASEAN has become one of the influential multilateral trading bloc in the world. So that's all as far as the ASEAN is concerned. So once more, very quickly, a quick recap of what we have said. We started that the ASEAN was signed on August the 8th as a result of the Bangkok Declaration of 1967, initially by 5 countries and later 5 other countries joined. So in together we have 10 member countries of ASEAN. The headquarters is in Jakarta, which is in Indonesia. The broad objectives of ASEAN, we saw its acceleration of economic growth, regional peace and stability, collaboration, development of agricultural industry as well as international trade, research and development progress, better kind of studies on Southeast Asian countries and cooperate with other bodies. And we also saw one of the important development with respect to international trade is the development of ASEAN Free Trade Area in 1992 with the objective of elimination of tariff and LTBs and to attract foreign direct investment in this. Hope that this session on ASEAN is helpful to you. So until we meet this time, stay safe, happy learning. Thank you.